Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today I want to talk about both XRP and Cardano because we're seeing them kind of move somewhat similarly on the chart. And so I want to talk about, is it a good time to buy the dip or should we be selling before a larger pullback? Kind of talking a little bit kind of just what the chart is showing us. So anyway, let's go ahead and dive right in. So starting out, looking at crypto bubbles kind of on the overall market, we can see that things down basically almost wholesale on the day. We can see Sand, Mana, metaverse things look like they're starting to run again. Phantom down, kind of is hidden by my picture, but then we got Tezos, we've got Tia, Say, a couple up here, but the majority of the market is down. One thing I have kind of commented on the channel before is I'm kind of expecting that we see somewhat of like a circular rotation between Say, Sui, and Aptos, just because they're all fairly similar. And I would imagine just kind of like as one kind of runs, the other ones kind of bleed, and then they kind of rotate into the next. So that's kind of my opinion that what we're seeing so far. We'll see kind of how that develops over the course of the bull run. But what we can see here, XRP down 6% on the day, ADA down 7.2%. So not a great day for either of those overall. But if we do look, really positive week overall. We got XRP up 32%, ADA 36%. If we go to month, things look even better. We're seeing XRP 169% and ADA 194%. So honestly, things looking really good for both. And so that's why I want to talk a little bit about what we're seeing on the chart, and should we be maybe buying the dip and taking this as a great place to buy some discounted ADA or XRP, or should we be selling and waiting for a larger pullback because things have kind of moved 200% in the past month, 169%, whatever. So let's go ahead, check that out, see what we're seeing here on the chart. So we're going to start with XRP, but what you should be able to see is things overall look pretty similar between the two. We've seen massive runs up, and then now we're starting to see a little bit of a pullback. And so with this pullback, as I've kind of talked about before on the channel, usually these, in my opinion, are very good and healthy things to see within the wider market. We can see here massive run up, sideways consolidation, even a little bit of a pullback kind of at the start. So, we could see something similar here where, have our run up, have our little bit of pullback, consolidate a bit, take the next leg. This is very common or normal to see within these kind of larger moves. What we can see here on the RSI, price strength recovering really quickly. We go from overbought to oversold basically while price stays flat. And so, I think that's a pretty good thing to see, because price is recovering quicker for another move to the upside. And we can kind of see this even in here. We see price strength kind of staying relatively stable. I do think we will want to see this probably bump up and stabilize a little bit, just looking at price strength specifically. We also can see volume has started to kind of wane a little bit. Usually volume is good for sustained moves to the upside. So the fact that we're seeing volume wane a little bit, not the best news, but also not necessarily terrible news. I have a couple of different lines here of what I'm thinking are going to be decent points of support or resistance. You can see we're kind of bouncing around on one right now. It was a resistance. Looks like we may have momentarily turned it into a support. We'll see if that holds. We also have seen a ton of volume get put in on this level right here. So another pretty strong area of support here, kind of like the $1.07 range. And then obviously recent highs here up at the $1.58. Going to be a decent resistance to break before we kind of continue our move to the upside. Now, moving on to ADA, we're going to see something very similar, right? Move to the upside, consolidation, move to the upside, kind of consolidation, little bitty move, pull back, move to the upside, pull back. And now we're kind of looking kind of a little bit of a support here, pretty strong support and resistance at this level and this level. But we're trying to see essentially if we can put some volume in here and keep some support and basically just trade sideways before we see another move up. Really good thing to see. Generally, when we look at the chart here, RSI again looking very similar, going from overbought to oversold almost within a matter of 2 days. So things are looking kind of pretty decent here. As I mentioned with XRP, we're going to want to watch this kind of move up and maybe kind of consolidate like we were seeing here, previously in this range. So if you are looking to trade any of this volatility with both Cardano or XRP, feel free to use my link in the description below. I have put together a really nice first time sign up bonus with BTCC for this month. It's a 10% bonus on first time deposits, which is awesome because if you were to put in, let's say $2,000, you get $200 basically for free that you could then use to trade on. So it's essentially kind of making your money work a little bit harder for you with no extra cost to you. And then you also have the same kind of usual bonuses of up to $10,055 per user. So really good deals overall here. What we can see, 300 plus crypto futures, so a ton of things to trade, up to 500x leverage. I do not recommend 500x leverage. I think that's insane. But if you want to trade up to 500x leverage, you could do that. But also no VPN or KYC necessary. So you essentially can just get signed up and start trading if that is something that you are wanting to do. So like I said, if you are interested, got that link in the description below. But moving on, I want to talk a little bit further about what this means kind of in this pullback. Like, is this a momentary pullback or is this a larger dip? What do we think? How should we think about this? And I did not look at this at the XRP chart, but again, these charts have moved very, very similarly to each other. And so we're going to see pretty much something similar. And on the daily, we are still seeing that both ADA and XRP are looking overbought, even still with this momentary pullback. And so what we need to kind of figure out and look into potentially a little further is this just kind of like a buy the dip, or is there going to be maybe a larger return, maybe back down to like previous highs that we saw back in March? It's possible. It's really hard to say. I mean, in this market, I kind of don't think we would see a move like this. This seems like kind of an extreme move, which means maybe this level of support, would be a good place for us to try and put some volume in. But you never know. You never know in these markets. Things overall still looking pretty good. I mean, we've seen ridiculous moves to the upside over in the past couple of weeks. So even if we did see a pull all the way back to this level, we can see, even from bottom to top, if we were to take price, we'd still see 140% moves to the upside. So, I mean, still really, really good moves either way. Obviously, I think we're wanting to kind of hold up here, but if that doesn't happen, still not the end of the world. But this is essentially the point of the video, right? Is this kind of a larger pullback, or should we be buying the dip? Now, obviously, none of this is financial advice because I know just as much as you do in terms of predicting the future of a chart. Obviously, if I could do it, I probably wouldn't be making YouTube videos. I would be sitting on an island somewhere sipping margaritas or something. So I have no idea what's going to happen for sure. But the way I usually like to tend to look at these types of things is if we were to zoom in just kind of at like a super close up range of things, we can see the difference in price here. We've seen a move of about 18% just in the span of about a day, right? Now keep in mind, when I make this argument, you can completely make the argument for the other side. Now, I think this is a whole different discussion about should we be chasing pumps, and my answer would be a firm no. But that aside, looking at just the dip side of things, we can see that price has gone down almost 20% in one day. And so the way to look at this, or at least the way that I look at this type of thing is, okay, well, if I'm a huge Cardano fan or a huge XRP fan, and I think Cardano is going to $3 by the end of the year, or I think XRP is going to $3 by the end of the year, those are kind of prices that have kind of widely been thrown out, at least from what I've been seeing. If I do believe that that's going to happen, is the fundamental value of Cardano 20% less today than it was yesterday? And if the answer to that is no, i.e. meaning there hasn't been any new news released, or there hasn't been any sort of major development like the outcome of a presidential election or something like that, then it really comes down more to okay, well, what is this really the value? And now we can have the whole other, like I said, conversation of well, should it have been valued at what it was yesterday? Maybe or maybe not, right? But if you are essentially fundamentally bullish on XRP or Cardano or any of these, I always just like to have the conversation of okay, well, this is 20% cheaper today than it was yesterday. Is this a good thing? Is it still 50% overvalued? Because if it's still 50% overvalued, then maybe it should come down further before you look at entering. Obviously, price is relative. And so this is kind of how I like to view this. And as people on Wall Street generally say, there's never a bad asset, just a bad price. I think that's very much the case here in crypto, especially where speculation abounds, price moves wildly, particularly with what we've seen with Cardano and XRP. There hasn't really been much hard news, evidence, developments, things like that have really dictated these price movements. A lot of it is just purely speculation that we have a pro-crypto government coming in. These are US-based crypto projects. They're going to moon. And that's basically the thought process, right? Yeah, that could be the case. But there hasn't really been anything fundamentally within these past 2 weeks that has changed the sentiment from, 30 cents to $1, other than just the speculation. And so now we kind of need to try and peel through that noise and figure out, okay, well, is ADA really going to go to $3 or XRP or whatever? Why? Oh, well, they have this new deal with some bank and it's going to be, bringing them billions of dollars of volume or things like that. Okay, yeah, sure. Then maybe that is a reason to buy. But usually I like to look at these pullbacks as a way to reassess my investment and think, okay, obviously maybe yesterday things were a little bit crazy and I've got a 20% discount today. Is that a good price? Or am I buying a 20% discount on something that's still 2x overpriced? That's usually the way I like to look at that. I obviously can't answer that question for you. There's a lot of people who view these assets differently, and ultimately that's what makes the markets work, right? For every buyer there needs to be a seller, and somebody who's selling it Bitcoin at 100K thinks Bitcoin at 100K is a good deal. And so that, obviously this is generally how I like to view it. But hopefully the information in this video was useful, just giving you kind of some context in terms of how to think about or assess these types of price movements when they do happen. I know a lot of people generally get a little bit spooked or a little bit scared when they see such massive moves one direction or the other, which is why I generally like to bring it back to like the fundamental view of, okay, well, if we were looking at a 20% discount, does it make it a better price, or is it still too rich, or whatever? So that's kind of the way that I like to look at that. Hopefully that was useful. If it was, please do give me a like and subscribe, because it really does help me out. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, anything like that, put those in the comment section below. I do try to read and respond to all of them. So if you have anything you want me to see, that'd be a good way to do it. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.